All right, today we're diving into something that's fixing one of the biggest traffic jams you probably never even thought about. See, it's not on our roads, it's in our data. It's called fog computing, and it's this invisible layer that's making our super smart world, well, truly instant. Let's get right into it. So I want you to think about this for a second. Think about your smartwatch, your smart home, self-driving cars, even entire smart cities. What happens when all of these things, and we're talking billions of them, need to make a critical decision in a fraction of a second? Where does that answer come from? To really wrap our heads around that, we first need to get a feel for the massive, connected world we're all building right now. You know, the era of the Internet of Things. I mean, we are living right in the middle of it. Our homes, our cars, our factories, they're all packed with these intelligent devices. And they are constantly sensing, collecting, and firing off these huge streams of information, creating what is basically a digital tidal wave of data. For a long time, the hero in this story has been the cloud, right? That powerful, centralized brain where all this data is supposed to go for processing. But what do you think happens when that digital tidal wave we just talked about crashes into it all at once? Yeah, you get a massive, massive traffic jam. Now, don't get me wrong, the cloud is amazing for the big stuff, crunching huge amounts of data and storing things for the long haul. But that centralized power, it comes with a price: distance. And for our smart devices that need to make decisions on the spot with practically zero delay, sending a request all the way to some data center far away and then waiting for the reply, it's just not going to cut it. It's way too slow. Let's make this super clear with an example from the source material they call SmartFill. Picture a smart traffic system. You've got a car and a traffic light, and they need to talk to each other instantly to stop a crash from happening. If that signal has to travel hundreds of miles to the cloud and then all the way back, that tiny delay, what we call latency, could literally be the difference between a safe trip and a really bad accident. So here's the bottom line. When you boil it all down, we're really up against two huge problems. The first is latency. That's the critical time it takes for data to make that round trip. And the second is bandwidth. Think of it like a highway to the cloud that just isn't wide enough for the nonstop traffic from billions of devices. It just gets completely clogged up. Okay, so if sending everything to the far-off cloud is the problem, then the solution has to be the exact opposite, right? We need to bring that intelligence, that computing power, closer to home, closer to where everything is actually happening. And that solution? Well, it has a name: fog computing. So the official definition says it's a platform that sits between our devices and the cloud. But honestly, I think a much better way to think about it is like a really smart middle manager. It's someone who can handle all the urgent stuff right on the spot without having to call headquarters for every single little thing. And this right here, this visual, this is the aha moment. The metaphor is just perfect. If the cloud is, well, a high-altitude cloud way up there in the sky, then the fog is a layer of computing power that sits low to the ground, right there at the edge of the network, right next to all our devices. Okay, so it's closer to the ground. That makes total sense. But how does this fog thing actually work? How does it manage to process information so much faster than sending it all the way up to the cloud? It's actually a pretty simple and, frankly, elegant process. So, first, a smart device, like that sensor on the traffic light, creates some data. But instead of sending it miles away, it just sends it to a local fog node. Now, this could be a powerful router or a little server sitting right there on the street corner. That node analyzes the really time-sensitive data instantly, and boom, it triggers a local action, like changing the light to green. And then finally, only the important summaries, like daily traffic patterns, get sent up to the cloud for that big picture analysis and storage. So you can see this shift in how we handle data isn't just some small technical change. It has these huge benefits for how our entire connected world works. Let's break down exactly why this is such a big deal. Because we're processing data locally, we get incredibly low latency. That means safer cars, more responsive apps, you name it. The system also becomes location aware, so it can give you smarter navigation that knows about a traffic jam the second it forms. It also clears up that massive data traffic jam to the cloud, freeing up that bandwidth for the stuff that really needs to go there. And it's super scalable, totally ready to handle the next billion smart devices we decide to plug in. And if we go back to that SmartVille example, the impact is just crystal clear. As the research points out, with fog computing, the system has become more efficient and also conserves bandwidth. Plain and simple, you get fewer accidents, smoother traffic, and a network that just works better. That's the real-world win right there.
So, fog computing sounds pretty amazing, maybe even like the perfect solution. But, like with any huge technological change, the road ahead has both incredible promise and a few new challenges we're going to have to figure out. The promise? I mean, that's obvious: faster, smarter, more efficient everything. But spreading everything out like this introduces new problems. How do you make sure all this data is secure and trusted when it's being handled by thousands of little local nodes instead of one big central cloud? And how do you even manage such a complex system while still protecting everybody's privacy? These are the really critical challenges we have to solve now.
And that really leaves us with this one big, fascinating question to think about. As our world gets smarter and more connected every single day, the real question for us is, where should our most crucial, split-second decisions actually be made? Way up high in a powerful, distant cloud, or right down here, closer to home, in the fog? Thanks for tuning in.